The FoxAlien XE-Pro, their latest desktop CNC machine and a long overdue upgrade to the original XE4040. Is it any good? Well, let's take a closer look and find out. Hello and welcome to another episode. Now, a couple of weeks ago I put out a high-level technical specification video for this. Link will be in the corner. Now, to save dragging this video out too much, I'm going to try and do an Ace Ventura one breath recap of that. So, work area is 400 by 400 with a Z height of 95. This sits in an all metal frame. All axes are using closed loop stepper motors of speeds of 5 to 6,000 millimeters per minute and driving a ball screw system for extra precision. The Z axis has two linear rails. It has an inbuilt offline controller. There are two upgrades. One is already available, the linear rail kit, and the second one is an extension kit coming early next year. So hopefully you got all of that, but the two things I will just recap is the closed loop stepper motors, which minimise mistakes as well as hitting higher speeds of around 5 to 6,000 millimeters per minute, and the ball screw drive system, which is just better for precision. Now, there was one other important fact in there, the linear rail upgrade kit. To my knowledge, this is the first desktop CNC machine designed with a linear rail kit in mind. Now, the question there, well, is the base machine good enough without that upgrade? That is exactly what we're finding out in this video, and then I'm going to do a second one with the linear rail kit, so hopefully we can see some of the differences between them. But let's dive in and take a look at the base machine now. Now, in a recent review video, somebody criticised me for not showing enough of the standard stock spindle. So guess what? Nothing's going to change on this video either, but let me explain why. Imagine buying a sports car, but the tyres fitted to it in the showroom can't go any faster than 30 miles an hour. You're still going to get to your end destination, but it's going to take longer and you'll never experience the potential of that car. Similar thing going on here with this machine. The 400-watt spindle is enough to get you up and running to do some beginners projects. It can do softwood, hardwood like this baseball bat, acrylic, soft metal like the aluminium I've just been testing. But the bottom line is, everything has to go slower, shallower, and therefore take longer. If you factor something in like a $50 1/4-inch trim router as part of your purchase, well, that is nearly double the power of the spindle that comes with the kit. Not only can it go faster, deeper, but you'll also get better results because of the added torque from it. So yes, I do skip over the standard spindle pretty quick, but that's because I want to show you the full potential of everything you're purchasing, not just probably the weakest part of it, which is that spindle. So let's drop a router in this, get it upgraded, and move on pretty quickly. The smaller 52mm holder will also take a laser as well as the stock spindle. It comes with two additional holders at 65 and 69mm diameter. The 65mm is more common and will fit a Makita, Bauer, Harbor Freight trim routers as well as up to a 1.5 kilowatt VFD spindle. So 4 bolts out, 4 bolts back in. It's literally that simple to change over to a trim router. Now, I did say about putting aside $50 for a cheap trim router, but in reality, if you can afford more for better brands like Makita or even a VFD spindle setup, well, they're generally going to be more durable and quieter, so it is something worth considering. But with the Makita dropped in place, well, let's see less of my face and a bit more machining. Now, the first project I did is one of my safe go-to projects, which is a V carving into stained black pine. I always love the contrast between the light pine and the stained black with the pattern we are engraving into it. Now, before I move on to the other projects, I'm just quickly going to talk about the rails on this machine. The new rails to FoxAlien, which is effectively stainless steel rods and stainless steel wheels applying the pressure on top and bottom. Now, before I even assembled this machine, I was worried about the footprint of those wheels against the rail. When I assembled the machine, I thought everything was okay and it seemed alright when I did the very first test. But when I was actually cutting that pine out, the results were not as clean and sharp as I have had on lower spec machines. And when I look back to the aluminium I was testing on the 400-watt spindle, I also noticed that wasn't as clean cut. What I realised is there was a bit of play going on in the axis. So what I ended up doing was stripping it all back down and tightening the eccentric nuts back up on the wheels to obviously apply the pressure. Now, I had to apply more pressure than I really would have liked to in order to minimize any play going on. Now, my concern there is obviously that's a lot of pressure on metal wheels against metal rails. I don't know how that's going to play out over a longer period of time. But either way, once I did then finally get them tightened up enough to clamp in position, well, it took all of the play away and the results were then better, which we'll now see in the other projects. Now, to ensure the machine doesn't overheat when doing longer jobs, I've done a 3D relief carving of this dragon. Total machine time was probably just under 5 hours, including the roughing pass. Now, given the issues I had on the pine, I was much happier with the results of this. The detail was brilliant and the precision was excellent. And obviously the results speak for themselves. Now, technically, this probably should have been one of the first jobs I did on the machine, which was making a spoilboard. But obviously, with the upgraded razor, it just makes life much easier and it can skim this material super quick. So that was a job out the way, which will ultimately give me better results whenever I'm machining in the future. I then moved on to doing some basic tests with metal on aluminium and brass. Now, in comparison to the earlier aluminium test I'd done, the results on this were super clean and it was cutting much better now I'd sorted out all the play on the machine. Brass used to be one of those materials that I was afraid of cutting, but actually it is such a nice metal to machine and the results always come out extremely clean. And finally, as a way to test the machine using larger bits, I produced this ashtray. Now, I don't smoke myself, but it was just a nice little project to make. I used a bowl bit to take out the center, and there was no tool marks that needed sanding, which is obviously great, and it just shows how smooth the machine is running. Very nice outcome, and considering this is quite tough oak to machine through. Now, at the end of the bowl, there was a small issue that was starting to frustrate me. Now, obviously, I don't machine with a dust shoe on, so you can see what's going on. But it does mean that the dust gets everywhere, particularly on these flat rails. As the wheels run back and forth over these, well, it starts to compress that material and make it stick to those stainless steel rails. And ultimately, that's going to cause bumps as the wheel goes over it, potentially lowering the quality of your job. Now, yes, a dust shoe would solve this, and I could put one on and stop that from happening. But the reason it's frustrating is obviously I reviewed the CL6560 from FoxAlien earlier in the year. They put dust guards on those rails, which are very similar to these. So why didn't they install them on this machine? It's a really cheap corner for them to cut. I mean, to have put those on, but it would have stopped the debris building up on those rails. And if I'm perfectly honest, a crucial oversight that they really should have included on this machine. So if you do consider buying one of these, just make sure that you buy a dust shoe to go with it. Or alternatively, I did design and print some 3D covers, which you can just see here. Free files will be available on Thingiverse as always. So let's wrap up with final thoughts. Now, my biggest concern about this machine at the start was if it's been designed for linear rails, how is it going to hold up without them? And obviously the small footprint of those wheels on the rails, I wasn't expecting good results from this machine. Obviously, I had to tighten those eccentric nuts up quite a bit to take all the play out of it, but actually once I did, the results were excellent. The metal cut very clean, nice results on those. The detail in the 3D relief carving was brilliant, and we proved it could handle larger bits on the ashtray without any issues and leaving tool path marks. So it sort of flipped things around in my head actually, and I'm now thinking, well, how much better can this actually be by adding the linear rails? Obviously, we will find out in a future episode when I go through and do similar tests, obviously with the upgraded kit fitted to this. But yeah, I do hope you found the review useful. It's safe to say this has performed much better than I expected at the start of the video. So yeah, if you are thinking of buying this machine, there are some links in the description area below. They will always take you to the best available prices. They don't cost you any more, but I may just get a tiny bit back that ultimately helps keep the channel going. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and thank you very much for watching. Final thanks as always goes to my patrons. If you want to get involved for one-to-one help, early access to content and giveaways, we'll check those links out as well. I will see you all on the next episode.